Hey, good evening. This is a video podcast that we are doing in an effort to, celebrate our healthcare workers. You know, I was a healthcare worker for a long time as a physician, and there was some disturbing things today that happened. I didn't realize that over 1,000 healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, aides, respiratory therapists, whoever, we all those people we need in the art and science of medicine. But good evening, okay, Adele, Susan. Good evening. This is Dr. Mitchell. I'm Dr. Mitchell, and I go by Dr. Eric now, mostly just because it's puts me a little bit more at ease that I can just be me. Sometimes I put on my white coat. Sometimes I put my bow tie and my white coat on. Okay, in an effort to talk about what we can do to help decrease our low-grade chronic inflammation. This is a podcast that we've been doing for more than for 120 days. I think it is now. Forgive me if I missed the count, but for over 200 days we have done this every day in an effort to communicate with the folks out there that believe in what I'm doing, and that's really the bottom line. And that that's just fantastic because I took a Hippocratic oath about 47 years ago, and I promised to do no harm, and I think that's one of the principal reasons that I got into this the cannabis game. When I was in medical school. Cannabis became illegal, and cannabis became illegal because it was placed as a controlled substance and scheduled as a Schedule 1 drug. So it was illegal, and yet the propaganda hadn't caught up. And from a pharmacological standpoint, we learned a lot of the good things, and yet a Schedule 1 drug supposedly has no medical benefits. And they vilified it thereafter, and they used to take an egg and crack an egg on a hot skillet and says, "This is your brain on drugs." And it was very, very intimidating, absolutely so. But now we have to overcome a very, very high wall, and that wall started back in 1937, and that's when they vilified it and called it a foreign name. They called it marijuana, okay? And we already had cannabis in the hemp fashion, as well as in the cannabinoid fashion, and the cannabidiol, and all the different concoctions of the medication back then was in our medicine cabinet from 1827 up until 1940 when they took it out. So it was a continuous component of pulling people away from something that was in our food source, was in our orbit, was in our bailiwick. The $1910 bill on the back of it, in 1910, when they printed the bills, they put the hemp field, a hemp field being harvested. And that's how important it was. And I have this belief that we are in cannabinoid deprivation because we don't have the phytocannabinoids to put in to replace or to supplement the endocannabinoid system. I've talked to you many times. The body makes a couple of these things inside our body known as endogenous cannabinoids, and there are only two of them that we've found so far, but I wouldn't be surprised that the way science is going, it'll open up in a big way. But these podcasts are to be 10-15 minutes at maximum. It's to give you a little bit of information, and I thought I would just talk for a couple more minutes on extraction and what it means. Extraction is to take the resin out of the plant and then be able to fractionate it into the cannabinoids that we have in that plant. And though they're principally THC is one of them, CBD is another, and CBC is the third most common. And those are the ones that we're most familiar with. Okay, so that's just the some of it lack. I imagine there'll be more that will be discovered, but because the endocannabinoid system was not recognized because it was based on an illegal Schedule 1 drug, then how could it be? And physicians could not give out prescriptions for it. So it's been that kind of situation. But extractions. Let's talk about extractions for a minute. You can do a water distillation. It takes a long time to do it, but water, basically, if you take a drop of water and put it at about 4 feet and let it drip continuously, it will make a hole in concrete. It will make a hole in rock. Okay, so this distillation process, I've never done it. Okay, water distillation, because you're not adding any solvent, you're not adding any heat. It's a pure format, and I don't think that it would be very good for large quantities. And I'll probably have to eat my words someday in the near future. Then you have different hydrocarbons that basically are used, from alcohol to butane to heptane to propane. All of these are to extract, to pull out this organic solvent, to pull it out of the plant, and then through the process, a lot of times you lose a lot of the adjunctive, let's use that word, adjunctive or additional components to the cannabinoids, and we believe that it works in a synergistic fashion. If I show you my hand and put it into a grip or a grasp, it's a whole uniform set of things happening at once. Okay, and they're all in sequence. They're all working together. Now, oftentimes when we go through different hydrocarbons, we'll take out a couple, and we'll be this, okay, opposed to this, and you can see how much it works in a synergistic fashion. It's much more powerful, and that because of removing a number of those substances known as flavonoids and terpenes, we might well affect that, and that's called the entourage effect. So something that we know already. Oftentimes, because of the hydrocarbon, you have to use heat, and heat will take certain chemical reactions to completion. And one of them that we try to avoid now is taking CBDA, which is the precursor for CBD, and pushing the chemical equation from left to right to completion. And so what you do when you get your product, you don't have any CBDA, you only have CBD. And that was the big craze. When we started this, everybody wanted CBD. It wasn't, CBDA wasn't given any consideration. It was worthless. It didn't have any value. And then Dr. Mashula, I think November of last year, 1 year ago, mentioned this almost at this time at a conference in Las Vegas. I think it was Las Vegas. And said, don't let it take 30 years to realize that CBDA has some hidden components, and it does not work off the endocannabinoid system, but another pathway. And I said, what? I thought it was all of them work in that fashion off the endocannabinoid pathway. But he said no. So we went to work and studied on it, and that's where 2-path comes, and maybe we'll talk about 2-path a little bit more tomorrow night. But distillation, let me tell you, there's also another process called cold press, which it has, because we've taken one of the deterrents or negatives away from the distillation, hydrocarbon distillation process, is heat. And because it says cold press, so there's no heat used. So that's for the fact that now you have that whole synergistic component, because you have all of your components in the cannabinoid plant working together, and not just a disconnected situation, but a synergistic situation. So the cold press is another one, and there's one that I've worked with, and that's called ultrasonic cavitation. And we're just trying to get the good things inside the plant out and put it into a solution or a formulation that we can take it and substitute and basically supplement, not substitute, but supplement the endocannabinoid system with things that it recognizes and needs very much so. So that's a little talk on extraction, and each one of them have their different degree of value, and there's the school for this and a school for that. And in 2 years now, we'll have a whole lot more information, and we will probably rebut ourselves many times. But I'll give you the knowledge that I know at hand as I take it off, synthesize it, and try to put it in a language that you understand. So let's try one time our credo. Have you had your daily vitamin CBD today to decrease your chronic low-grade inflammation and support your immune system? Now, I know that's a mouthful, and maybe we'll think about how do we shorten that up. If you think that we can hit those points, that you have to have a daily supplementation of CBD from a standpoint that you want to be able to make sure that neurotransmitting system is working to its optimal level. Okay, and you have to have enough. Anandamide, one of the endogenous cannabinoids that we didn't name earlier, but it's one of the ones that we make. It's not made necessarily. It's made on demand. There's no storage of it, and when you need it, you want to have all the components. You don't want to have to wait for things to be made because it's made on demand. So that's the reason that so many different formulations create or open up different opportunities in different pathways. Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, thank you very much. Please go to www.dailyvitamincbd.com. We do have jellies. I just packaged them up. I was at the lab this evening, and I didn't get back in time to put it into a priceless situation. We'll share with that tomorrow and probably put a special on so that you can try it if you haven't. Thank you so much. Please and thank you, and out.